Welcome. We're going to talk about 16 ways to lower your sugar level, HbA1c. In simple terms, if you check and manage after meal blood sugar level, HbA1c will automatically come down. Even if you don't have a meter, it is cheap to test after meal blood sugar at a lab. By doing that, you can identify the food which raises after meal blood sugar. Learn to avoid them. Aim for glucose levels under 9 millimoles per liter, that under 160 in the American system, 2 to 3 hours after a meal. This is the first time we're talking about 16 methods to lower blood sugar. At most, I might have covered about 10 methods previously. Common things are to exercising more. The other is to reduce carbohydrate intake. Look at the food you eat and see how much carbohydrate it contains, especially based on a 100-gram serving. Foods that are high in carbohydrates, meaning those with more than 50 grams of carbohydrates per 100 grams dry weight, should be avoided. If that's not possible, at least avoid foods with more than 60 grams of carbohydrates. These include rice, bread, and starchy foods like cassava, potatoes, and most root vegetables. There are some good root vegetables like carrots and radishes. Tell me, what is your favorite root vegetable? Leave a comment and I'll post the link to the video I made. The other thing is to take medication if you cannot control with diet and exercise alone, as necessary. If these methods don't control it, you need to take medication. But there are some good and economical cost-effective medication like SGLT2 inhibitor medications you can take in addition to metformin. Advantage of them is that they don't cause hypoglycemia. Don't regret it later, thinking, I didn't take medicine, that's why I got these side effects. I have that problem now, too. This means that in the early days, I've had diabetes for 40 years now. In the early days of those 40 years, I didn't take medicine. I didn't even try to take medicine, nor did I look for them. If I checked my sugar levels during those early years, it might have been once a year. I don't remember exactly, it was so long ago. It's okay if you didn't take medicine, but check your sugar level, because then you know where you stand. It's like when you're in a vehicle, if you look around, you know where you are, whether you're on the wrong bus or the wrong train. The trick number 1 is, not eating late at night. Finish the dinner early, just before 6 p.m. That means finish eating at least 3 hours before you go to sleep. Don't eat anything else within those 3 hours. Along with that, I'm saying don't eat until you're overly full. Even at night, after eating, try to walk around a bit, even inside the house. After eating, if you're watching TV, don't sit and watch TV. Stand up, walk in the living room and watch TV. If you sit and watch TV, then your sugar level will just remain high. If you walk around the house a bit or stand and watch TV, there's a chance your sugar level will decrease a little. Don't go to sleep when your stomach is full. That's the main thing I'm saying here. Try to eat foods with less than 50 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams by dry weight. Also less than 50 grams of carbohydrates per meal from the main ingredient. If you look it up on the internet or somewhere, check if they're talking about dry weight or cooked weight, because there's a big difference between the two. Because when it's boiled, half of it is water. Even rice, when boiled, is half water. Some people might say rice has only 50 grams of carbohydrates, meaning by cooked weight, not dry. After a meal, try to reduce snacking as much as possible until the next meal. This means don't just eat whatever you can get your hands on. It's a bit difficult to control. Either drink plain tea, what we call black tea, or if you have green tea, that's even better. But don't drink this immediately after eating, because it reduces iron absorption a bit. So, the other thing is to ask your family members to help you to manage diabetes and lower your sugar level. Explain to them that if you can't control your sugar level, there can be very bad consequences. My job is not to scare you, but there are things we can do together. It's good that diabetes is diagnosed. Lots of people don't know it until a side effect is recognized. You can't say they're very lucky. Here, we're trying to control other side effects. It's not just about having diabetes. If others eat sugary things, ask them to keep them out of sight. And the other thing is, tell them not to eat those things in front of you, because when you see them eating, it becomes difficult for you to control it. That's human nature. When we see someone else eating, that's when we remember that we should eat something, whether it's sweet or not. If you've finished eating or not, your family's cooperation is very important. I would say, tell them in a way that they understand. If I didn't control blood sugar, I may get a heart attack, became paralyzed, and ended up bedridden. Explain that to them, I mean family members. If they don't listen when you tell them, there's no other solution. Okay. So alcoholic drinks, the intoxicating kind, are not good, because they often contain a certain amount of carbohydrates. Another thing is that it can be a reason for developing fatty liver. When you get fatty liver, I know a close relative of my wife, not mine, in Sri Lanka who died from fatty liver. He had told the doctors that he didn't drink alcohol. But we knew how much he drank. However, it's not easy for doctors to find out if it was caused by alcohol or if it's non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. This means it mainly occurs in people with diabetes. Eating a lot of sugary and fatty foods can lead to fatty liver. Why does eating sugar cause fatty liver? Fatty liver means there's fat. The sugar and carbohydrates, sometimes I the two terms interchangeably. After carbohydrates enter the body, they're converted into glucose by the body. When you consume too much of these, they can be converted into fat in the body. That process is called de novo lipogenesis. The body looks to see where it can store it. The amount that can be stored as sugar or carbohydrate is very small. So when that's not enough space to store as glucose, it is stored as fat. Because when stored as fat, a lot of energy can be stored in a very small space. Because fats have about 3 times more energy than carbohydrates. Okay, calories are also stored in the liver as fat. Simple, right? This means the calories from alcoholic beverages, intoxicating drinks, are stored in the liver as fat. The other thing is, let's talk a bit about these things. Before eating your main meal, drink 2 glasses of water. It might be a bit difficult, but then you'll feel full. We often tend to overeat not because we need to produce energy, but because we're used to it. Because we're accustomed to that way. And if you can, add a little lime juice to it. Then, it's good to add about half a teaspoon of vinegar. Lime also slightly reduces the absorption of glucose into the body. This means sour things. So, if you're making food, it's good if you can make it with sour ingredients. Everyone knows that things like star fruit have a sugar-reducing property. So, even if not that, when making things like fish, try to add some sour ingredient. However, I think the best thing when making fish is to use tamarind as an additive. The other thing is to use a small plate, because when you use a small plate and put food on it, you mentally think, oh, I ate a whole plateful, didn't I? But when you eat from a large plate, you think, this plate isn't full yet, is it? It's just a psychological thing. So, get used to tricking yourself like that. Eat from a small plate. The other thing is to eat as slowly as possible. That means don't eat in a hurry, quickly. Enjoy your food slowly. Because it takes a while for our stomach to feel full. You might have experienced this. Right after eating a little, we think, I didn't eat enough, I need to eat a little more, I need to eat a little more. But about 15 minutes after finishing, you feel like you ate too much, and you can't even walk. So, if it's difficult to walk, it means you ate too much. That's definite. Especially if you can't walk outside, not just inside the house, at your normal walking pace, or if your walking pace is slower than another person's walking pace, it definitely means you ate too much. So reduce that much eating too. The other thing I need to say is that the signal that tells our brain we've had enough to eat comes from the stomach, specifically from the gut bacteria, the bacteria in the stomach. Don't be scared when I say bacteria in the stomach and think you need to take antibiotics. The bacteria in the stomach are mostly good bacteria. It's the good bacteria in the stomach that send the signal saying, this person has finished eating, the stomach is full. Try to fill at least half of your plate with good vegetables. The first is leafy greens. Then things like cabbage. Then cauliflower, what we call gova mal. Then green beans, what we normally call green beans, the ones that are still in the pod. It's okay to cut the pods into pieces, cook as a curry and eat them. Similarly, other types of winged beans and long beans also belong to the green bean category. These can often be grown in various climates. You can find a type of you can grow in your climate. So, I think they are even more nutritious than regular beans. Then cucumbers and similar things. There will be a video above with a list of good vegetables. Another thing is to get proper sleep, a good sleep of at least 8 hours. And that 8 hours should be regular. If possible, at the time when everyone is used to sleeping, meaning, the body has what we call circadian refers to rhythm. Not sleeping during the daylight. Circadian refers to rhythms or cycles that occur roughly every 24 hours, often referring to the body's internal clock that regulates sleep-wake patterns, hormone release, and other physiological processes. If you work at night, there's nothing you can do about it, that's a problem. Otherwise, sleep at night. Sleep normally. Don't get into the habit of watching TV or something until 12 a.m. and then sleeping until 8 a.m. the next day. Because sleeping like that is called sleeping according to the circadian rhythm. That means sleeping after dark and waking up when it gets light, when the sun rises. That's the best way to control sugar levels. If you can't sleep, there's a full video here on how to sleep, how to fix your sleep if you can't sleep properly. Even the next day, you can see that the sugar levels are not controlled. That also increases insulin resistance. Another problem is sleep apnea, which means having problems with breathing while sleeping. Mainly, breathing stops for a bit. So this can actually be a very dangerous problem. Sometimes, in very rare cases, people die due to sleep paralysis. So, only another person can usually know. However, you can also know because when you wake up, you don't feel that refreshed feeling you get after a good night's sleep. You still feel tired. Feeling tired, unrefreshed after sleep. Even when you wake up, you still feel tired. So there is a strong connection between not getting proper sleep and type 2 diabetes. About 50-60% or even 80% of people diagnosed with diabetes also have sleep apnea, meaning they don't sleep properly. So far, I've covered 8 methods. There are many more to come. The other thing is that this video has chapters, so you can watch only the part you like. If you think this video has some value, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Also, give this video a like. Then I can see that many people like this video and that I should make more videos like this. Similarly, YouTube will then send this video to more people. The other thing is to avoid situations that cause tension. Yes, this. Okay. Getting angry, and then being jealous of others, reduce such problems. Those can be reduced through things like meditation. Meditation means loving kindness meditation, then mindfulness of breathing meditation. You don't need to shout and do them like some monks say. Do them alone, quietly, in your mind. Because this causes the fight or flight syndrome. The fight or flight syndrome is a problem that has come down from the time when we lived in the jungle as animals. That means, when we saw an animal in the jungle, let's say a lion or a tiger, we would think, should I run away, or should I fight this animal? That's the fight or flight response. Every animal probably faces this problem. In such a situation, what we need for both is glucose. So the body produces more glucose. For that, the hormone adrenaline, or scientifically called epinephrine, and all related hormones are released to increase both blood sugar level and blood pressure. Because when blood pressure increases, more blood goes everywhere. So, if we actually had to run or fight, our muscles needed energy. So both of those increase. So, the heart rate also increases. Even though we don't have that problem now, when we have to deal with the person next door, we don't run away, and even if we shout a word or two, we don't go to fight. But that's something we got from our evolution. Another thing, and this can't be done completely, but if it's cold outside, going for a walk outside at that time. Apparently, that burns more glucose. Even if you don't walk outside, just being outside, it happens because our body has to burn more glucose to maintain its temperature. So when glucose is burned like that, the amount of glucose in our blood decreases. So for people living in cold countries like Korea, Italy, this could be very valuable. However, these methods can be adopted. So, when you bathe a little, not just a little, when you bathe normally, because then something similar happens. The body cools down. Then, to restore that cooled body to normal temperature, glucose is needed. Glucose needs to be burned. However, don't do this right after eating. Next is the other one, fatty foods. Foods with saturated fats, they increase insulin resistance. So ask someone who, some people do this, eat only meat. Ask someone like that how they are doing now. They say their diabetes is cured. That's not a cure for diabetes. To measure diabetes, the body needs to have a certain sugar level. So if the sugar level is very low, this person is not eating sugar, not eating foods with carbohydrates. Ask someone like that if we can try something sweet and then check their sugar level. Then they will realize that their sugar level goes much higher than when they started that meat diet. Because the pancreas is not used to stopping glucose. When glucose increases, producing insulin, over time it becomes inactive. The other thing is to reduce simple carbohydrates as much as possible. Simple carbohydrates are mainly things like rice and bread. So if you can't completely reduce rice, take it in the smallest possible amount and see what the result is. We don't need to do an HbA1c. Just eat something like that and check your sugar level, the post-meal sugar level. I think it costs about 200 rupees for that. It doesn't cost as much as an HbA1c. If you eat foods with a low glycemic load, meaning low carbohydrate content and also a low glycemic index. Eat foods that are low in both. If possible, measure your sugar level after meals. Measure it after meals. You don't need to check HbA1c frequently. There's no point in checking it frequently. If you have money to check HbA1c, they usually say to check it once every 3 months. But it usually takes about 4 months for a complete change in HbA1c. So, checking it about once every 4 months is enough, even if you have money. Otherwise, for us, since we don't have to pay, it's simple. So next, the doctor's appointment, the diabetes specialist's appointment, we check it the day before. Because otherwise, it's meaningless. Another thing is, don't blame yourself if you can't control your sugar level. It is a problem. So, see why this happened. I've told you many methods now. So try 1 or 2 of those methods. Try 10 methods, try 5 methods, to see if you can get this under control. The quickest way to find out is to do something like that. That's why I always say, eat rice normally, the way you usually eat, and then go to a place where they do blood sugar tests and get your post-meal blood sugar checked. I said they charge very little for that. After doing that, follow a diet plan as I say, meaning without rice, without starchy foods, without flour products. By flour, I mean bad flours, mainly wheat flour. Then finger millet flour. Finger millet flour also has about 70% carbohydrates. Instead, I'm talking about flours that have less than 50 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams by dry weight. In most countries you can get soy flour. You can easily grind the soybean seeds if you soak them overnight. Or sometimes we make flour from cowpeas. Red lentils or masoor dal, red lentil dal, are also a great option. It's not that difficult. Take some cowpeas, soak them a bit, and then you can grind them in a grinder. You can make roti with it. The other thing is exercise. So, the reduction in sugar level that comes from exercising, sometimes that even affects the next day. But don't say, I only exercise 1 day here and there, because of that. Do it every day. Because if you do that, it's a bit easier to maintain that lifestyle. The last thing is to take medicine 20 minutes before. Now, the person I mentioned, from the type 1 talk channel that was the basis for this. He has type 1 diabetes. He takes insulin. But he says he takes insulin 20 minutes before meals. I have also experienced that. Even though I don't eat in the morning now, I take all my diabetes medication first thing in the morning. First thing in the morning means, today I woke up around 4. I woke up around 4 and took all the medicine I had. However, if you can discuss this issue with your doctor. But some doctors don't like to deviate from their opinion. If you have a meter, you can check for yourself. The other thing is, if you are taking medication that causes hypoglycemia, there is a video above about what medications cause hypoglycemia. Watch that. That is, the sulfonylurea group of drugs, or insulin-like drugs. The drugs that I generally recommend, especially metformin, and type 2 drugs like Jardiance, don't have that problem. But that problem occurs with drugs that increase insulin secretion. So if you are taking such a drug, don't take it 20 minutes before all at once. If you want, take it 5 minutes before. Then see if there is no problem. If you don't get the symptoms of hypoglycemia, the video I mentioned has the symptoms of hypoglycemia too, like shaking, feeling like you're going to lose consciousness. If you don't have such problems, then take it another 5 minutes earlier, meaning 10 minutes before. In this way, I think taking it about 10 minutes before is generally good. So if you take it like that, the medicine has time to be absorbed into the body. But if we take it with food, it gets mixed up with everything, and our body can't find it to absorb it. It's like a postman bringing an important letter, but he brings it along with a pile of garbage and unloads it like from a truck. So if that happens, we have to spend another half an hour looking for that letter. I hope you understood what I said. If you take it earlier, it will be absorbed into the body and ready by the time the food comes. However, if you do this, start after preparing the food. If you suddenly feel your sugar level dropping and the food is not ready, that will be another problem. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Give my video a like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe.